Hey guys, it's Vicky, and today I'm here to share with you my December reading wrap-up, all the books that I read in the month of December. But before I get into my wrap-up, I just want to show you guys my cool shirt that I got. It says BookTube Bestie, and I got it for Christmas from my BookTube Bestie, Bobby. So thank you, Bobby. It fits great. It's super cozy, super awesome. It's great. I love it. So yes, got a new shirt. So December was an interesting month. I read 7 things. Yeah, let's just get into the wrap. So the first 2 books that I read in December were 5-star predictions. So I already wrapped them up for you. So I'm not going to talk about them here, but the first one was Wilder Girls by Rory Power. I think I gave this, I want to say I gave it 4 stars. I know I didn't give it 5. And then the other one that I read and already wrapped up is Smoke It's in Your Eyes by Caitlin Doty, and that one was a 5-star read. So I will link my 5-star prediction wrap up if you want to get my deep thoughts on those 2 books, but they were the first 2 I completed in December, but I'm just not going to repeat myself here. And then the other little bit of business that I feel like I should mention is I did have a DNF in December. I tried to read Winter at Death's Hotel by Kenneth Cameron. This was going to fulfill the Buzzword Reading Challenge for me for December because it was to read a book with like day, season, or time of year or something like that in the title, so winter. And this one, I did not make it very far. I think I made it about maybe 40 or 50 pages, and I just didn't like it. I didn't like any of the characters. I hated the way that it's because it's basically, in the first part here anyway, about a husband and a wife. It's Arthur Conan Doyle and his wife, Louisa, I believe her name was, and I could not stand Arthur. He was so condescending and just rude to his wife, and I was like, I don't want to spend a whole book dealing with this man. So I decided not to read it. Okay, so before I talk about the first book that I read in December that I'm actually going to talk about in this wrap up, it kind of comes with like a little bit of a story. So sorry if you don't want to hear my story, just fast forward or whatever. But I got this book. I had no intention of reading this book, but I ended up reading it, and I have a little bit of a story. So if you guys remember at the end of November when I did like my December TBR and my wrap up and stuff, I had mentioned that I had a cold, and it was a pretty annoying cold that just would not let go. And I ended up having to go to the doctor because I had a cough that was lingering, and I had ended up having also an eye infection. So it was super fun times, super fun times. Luckily, it wasn't COVID. I tested negative for COVID, but it was a bad cold, and I had to go to the pharmacy to get medicine. And long story short, I had to end up going to a different pharmacy because my pharmacy didn't have the stuff in stock, and so like what I needed, so I had to go to another pharmacy like 15 minutes away. And I didn't care because I was just desperate to get the medicine. I just wanted to feel better. And then when I got there, I had to wait, for them to fill the prescription or whatever. So I was walking around because my pharmacy is in a grocery store. So I was walking around to kill time, and I came across this book, and I went, you know what? I've had a crappy week, not feeling well, just this whole cold business. I want something that is going to be lighthearted and just make me feel good and maybe get me a little bit in the Christmas spirit because I'm feeling rather grinchy right now. So this book, I looked at it and I went, because a lot of Christmas books, for me, I avoid them because I feel like they often center around a romance, and you guys know, I just don't really care for that. So I usually shy away from Christmas books, but this one, it didn't seem like that was the focus. So the title grabbed me, I read the back, and the synopsis grabbed me, so I read it. And long story short, the book I read was The Christmas Bookshop by Jenny Colgan. And obviously, bookshop, Christmas, cool. And this one is about 2 sisters, so it focuses more on the sister sort of relationship, although there did end up being a little bit of a romance in here. It wasn't like the focal point, which was fine for me. So but it's about 2 sisters, Carmen and Sophia, and they live in Scotland. So the bulk of this story takes place in Edinburgh, Scotland, which is now a place I feel like I need to visit before I die. It's just like, it sounds like such an awesome place, especially bonus points if I make it there at Christmas time, because it sounds like it's amazing at Christmas time. But anyways, these two sisters, they're kind of at odds with each other because like Sophia was always like the perfect one, you know, she always got the great grades. She ended up becoming an attorney. She's married, has this very nice house, and has, you know, these 3 great kids and all this. And Carmen just feels like she's just garbage compared to her sister, and she's kind of having a tough time in life because she's recently lost her retail job and all this stuff. So anyways, she ends up going to her sister's for the Christmas holiday time to kind of, I don't know, feel better. And she starts working at this bookshop that is in desperate need of some help because the owner is like one of those owners who is passionate about books, loves the bookshop itself, but just doesn't know how to like run the bookshop and make it more successful. And so Carmen comes in and starts working at the bookshop, and then it kind of just like goes from there. For me, I really liked the Christmas vibes. Like I said, it makes me want to go to Scotland now at Christmas time. It had great Christmas vibes. It did have a romance that wasn't the focal point. So I didn't care. It didn't bother me as much. But I mean, the romance was just like meh. And I liked how it focused on the two sisters. It was a nice Christmas story, and it just felt nice to read a Christmas book at Christmas time. So I'd never done that before, other than like A Christmas Carol. So this one I ended up giving it 3 stars because I mean, it was entertaining, it was great, but like it wasn't like amazing. So yeah, I liked it. It was 3 stars. Let me know if you have any for next Christmas, because obviously I'm not going to read any more Christmas books until next Christmas. But let me know if you have any Christmas book recommendations that are not like romance ones or rom-coms or anything, where it's not as focused on romance. I would love to hear your guys' suggestions because next year I would love to read another Christmas book. So yeah, this was good. It fit the bill. It was what I needed at the time, and I enjoyed it. All right, the next book that I read was something I was proud of because all year I've been saying I want to read more poetry, right? I want to read more poetry. So I did a book haul revisit in November and decided to read from that book haul revisit. I decided to read The Wasteland and Other Poems by T.S. Eliot, whom I have never read before. I've never read T.S. Eliot before. And so I was excited to get into this, and it's one of those, he's one of those poets that you cannot just read his poems and understand them. If you can, like, good on you, you're a genius, like, bravo. I was not that way with this poetry collection. I had to definitely like get online and read criticisms and such of a lot of these poems to be able to fully understand them, especially the title poem, The Wasteland, which is like considered his, you know, greatest work or whatever. And so once I did that, I did appreciate the poems more and enjoy them more. I also found that listening to someone else read them was super helpful, again, especially with The Wasteland. And the person, oddly enough, who reads a lot, if you like go on YouTube and just search for specific poems by T.S. Eliot, someone who reads a lot of his poems and does an amazing job is Jeremy Irons, who I know as Scar from The Lion King. So it's basically like Scar reading you these poems. It was great, it was amazing. But The Wasteland specifically, he reads it, and there was a, who was the other reader? What was her name? I wrote it down. Hold on, let me check. Okay, the other reader was Eileen Atkinson, and that reading was so good because the first time through, I read it and I was like, I have no idea what I just read. I was so lost. So I went on, read some Spark Notes, went back in and listened to it with them two doing the reading, and it was a great experience. So this is definitely one of those poetry collections that, like I said, you can't just pick it up, read it, and go, oh yeah, okay, I know what that's about. Unless you're a genius, which is, you know, I'm sure there are people out there, but I wasn't one of them. So I think I would like to read more T.S. Eliot in the future because I didn't mind it. I liked the way he kind of played with form and stuff in here because sometimes he rhymes, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he just kind of like does whatever he feels like doing. I liked it. I didn't love it because like I said, a lot of it I didn't understand the first time through. So I gave this collection 3 stars. My favorite poem, I did enjoy The Wasteland specifically because The Wasteland is broken up into, I believe it's 5 different books or like things, and I loved book 2 of The Wasteland. It was so good. It was stellar. But my favorite poem in here was actually the very first poem in the collection that I read, and it's called it's called The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. That was my favorite. So yeah, I enjoyed this, and I will try to pick up some T.S. Eliot in the future, but this was a 3-star read for me. All right, so my next read was for the Random Reads book club. And this was one that I was a little bit nervous about because it had such crazy ratings on Goodreads. And so many people said that the ending of this book was horrible. So I was nervous going into it. But the book we read was Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky. And it's a big book. It's like 700 pages, I think it was. I listened to it on audio. The audiobook was fantastic. I can't remember who narrated it. I'll put their name here. It was great. But this is a story about a woman named Kate and her 7-year-old son Christopher, and she is escaping an abusive relationship, moves to a new town, and they get settled in, and Christopher goes missing. He goes missing in these woods that are nearby, and he's missing for 6 days, and when he comes back he's different. He just has these, I don't want to say what they are because it's kind of fun to see like what happens to him after he comes back. But one of the things he does is he is suddenly very adamant about building this tree house in the woods because he thinks that if he doesn't, something really bad is going to happen on Christmas Day. So that's all I'm going to say about the plot. This book was so creepy, especially the whole like first, I would say 400 pages or so. There was some amazing, creepy, just eerie, unsettling moments in this book. I was not expecting that. I was expecting a little bit of weirdness, you know, maybe a little bit of tension, but like there was some stuff in here that was like legitimately creepy, like great like horror elements, okay? And the thing about this book that a lot of people don't like is it does, the twist that happens, the turn the book takes, some people just hated it. And I can see why, because you're reading the book thinking it's one thing and then it's a different thing. And so I can see why some people were upset and angry about this. It didn't bother me. All I will say is the book does, as it progresses, it does take on some religious themes. So if that automatically turns you off, you probably won't like this. For me, oddly enough, a lot of times when books do have religious themes or elements, I do sort of shy away from it. But in this one, it didn't bother me at all. Like, because I think it was because I was so invested by the time that stuff kind of started to pop up that I didn't care. I was like, okay, I'm along for the ride. This is great. I just wanted to put that out there because I think that's why so many people were upset, was because they didn't realize that it was going to be like that. And I mean, some people even went in their reviews, they went so far as to call this Christian fiction. I wouldn't call it that, but it does have religious Christian elements that if you don't like that, I wouldn't bother with this. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved one of the things that I didn't see a lot of people talking about on Goodreads anyway in the reviews was there's a lot of themes about motherhood in here, specifically mother-son type relationships. And again, I might have just really connected to that because I'm a mom and I have a son. But some of that stuff just really spoke to me about like sort of that bond that a mother has with their child. And so I could see where people that don't connect to that also might have not liked it, you know, but I really did. So I gave this 4 stars. I really liked it. I know a lot of people don't, and but it was good for me. I really liked it. So again, be aware of the religious stuff, but but it had such great horror elements and just such a great story, great characters that I loved it. 4 stars. Yeah. The next book that I read in December, I read because I DNF'd, what was that book called? I don't even remember. What was it called? Winter at Death's Hotel. So I was like, oh, I gotta find another book to fulfill my buzzword reading challenge because I have hit all of those all year, and I was like, I'm not gonna miss the last one. So I was going through my books, going through my Kindle, and boom, the Saturday Night Ghost Club by Craig Davidson came up, and I was like, perfect, it'll fit the bill. Yes, Saturday, in the title, let's go. And this one I initially bought and wanted to read because it is a coming of age story, which you guys know is like my favorite. And it's about this kid named Jake who is reflecting on the summer that he was 12 years old. He meets some new friends, Billy and his sister Dove, who kind of move into town, and Jake befriends them and he himself doesn't have a lot of friends. He struggles with friendships. He gets teased by other kids and stuff like that. And it's about their adventures with his uncle Kelvin, or Uncle C as he calls him, who is super into the occult and just like ghosts and all kinds of stuff. And they kind of start this club called the Saturday Night Ghost Club, and they basically go around town and go to like haunted places and stuff, and Uncle C tells them cool stories about it and stuff. And so yeah, it has like that coming of age, which I love, the nostalgia, which I love, but then it also has that fun sort of element with the horror stuff. So this was like a great book for me. I mean, it's not a surprise that I enjoyed this. I loved Uncle Kelvin. I was like, man, I want an uncle like him. Like, just the way, I mean, doesn't everybody want an uncle who would take them to like a graveyard and tell them a spooky story? Like, that sounds like such a blast. Yeah, I really loved his character, and all of the characters I thought were really interesting. And it also kind of, in the end, was very, it got me in the feels a lot too, because it takes sort of a turn where you might get a little sad, but I liked the themes that it explored there with memory and our perception of things and events in our lives. It was really interesting. It was really good. And so yeah, I enjoyed it. It's a quick little book. I think it was only like 200 pages, so it was a quick read, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. So yeah, if you like coming of age and spooky stuff, you need to read this book because it's fun. And I also didn't know that Craig Davidson is another pen name for Nick Cutter, who wrote The Troop. Did not know that until I started reading reviews, so that's a fun little tidbit too. So yeah, if you like Nick Cutter, you might like this book too because it's him. He wrote it. So yeah, 4 stars, enjoyed. Check it out if it sounds interesting to you. And then the last book I read in December, this one just kicked me in the gut, you guys. And I'm so glad, just let me tell you what it is first. Saga Volume 9, okay? This is the last volume as of right now, but I think it's just a new chapter is being released at the end of January. So it's not a full volume, because I believe a typical volume has like, I want to say 4 or 5 chapters. And I think they're only releasing like maybe a chapter at the end of January, but they've been on hiatus for a few years. And the way that this ended, I was like, are you kidding me? It cannot be this way. It just cannot. Okay? 9 volumes. And you're gonna do that? Okay. I was upset. And like, I was like sad. Okay? It's sad. I liked, like, cause I like this series, there's a lot of sort of like subplots going on. And sometimes in some of the volumes, I don't really get as invested in them. But in this one, I really liked all of the plots going on. I was in it. And there was a couple of like turns where I was like, no, but that last one for sure, I was like, oh, that was a tough one. I gave this 5 stars because it was really good. But now I'm like, I need to know what happened. So yeah, this was 5 stars, amazing. Even if like you think sci-fi type stuff isn't for you, trust me, you guys know I don't read a lot of sci-fi and fantasy either, but this story is so good. It's so good. You gotta check it out. It is like explicit at times with some of the like the language, the violence, the sexual content, but It's great. So yeah, if you haven't read Saga, just do it, okay? Just do it. All right, guys, so those are all the books that I read in the month of December. It was a pretty decent way to end the year. I'm not complaining. Let me know what you guys read at the end of the year. How did you finish off 2021? Because I would love to know. And yeah, I hope you guys had a happy new year and that 2022 is better for all of us. Please, please, please. All right, guys, that's all I have. So I hope you are having a wonderful week and I will talk with you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.